Have you ever bought something with your own money, then suddenly felt like you needed to explain yourself? And not because you have done anything wrong, but because you already know deep inside that someone was going to question you. I got to that point in my relationship, and the thing I was buying that day was fabric. By the time this happened, we were almost a year into the relationship. And then he had started handling our shared expenses. And at first, I honestly thought it was a good thing. He would tell me, let me handle every other thing so that you can face your work and do it very well. And I agreed. I saw that as support. I saw that as him trying to make life easier for me. But slowly, things started changing. He was handling more of the money, and I suddenly started becoming conscious of how much I spent. And there was no big conversation where he told me I needed his permission to spend my money. It happened little by little. And before you knew it, I wasn't just asking myself, could I afford it? If I see something I wanted to buy, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how will he take it? How will I explain this expense to him and all that? And to be fair, it was my money. One day, I went to buy fabric for my sewing work. It was about 150,000 naira. The money was mine. I earned it from my sewing. But before I even paid for the fabric, I started preparing an explanation in my head. I remember thinking in my head, I'll tell him it was for a client. I'll tell him a client already paid me for the fabric, and I'll explain why I needed the fabric. And while I was standing there at that fabric shop, something about that should have bothered me. Why was I preparing an excuse or something to tell him about a purchase that I was about to make? A purchase I made with my own money for my shop. Nobody had told me I couldn't buy the fabric, but I was afraid of the questions that I was going to answer about why I needed the fabric and who needed it and all whatnot. And just as I thought, that night, while we were making dinner in the kitchen, he asked me what I needed the fabric for. And my knee-jerk reaction was to tell him the excuses I've already made in my head about why I needed to buy the fabric. I told him the fabric was for a client, and he slowly nodded his head. And the way he looked at me, it was like he was deciding whether my answer was right or wrong. Then something happened that I didn't understand at the time. I felt relieved that he seemed to believe me. And that is something I remember very clearly now. I was relieved because he had accepted my explanation for spending my own money. That should not have felt like victory, but it did. At that time, I didn't call it financial control. I just thought we were building a life together. I thought this was what couples did. But looking back, I can see how my thinking had changed. I wasn't only thinking about what I could afford anymore. I was now thinking, oh, can he approve it if I want to buy this thing? Will he approve it? Will he take my explanation for wanting to buy something like that? And that is a very different thing, because sharing money in a relationship is one thing, but feeling like you have to explain every personal purchase is another thing altogether. The amount of money didn't matter. It was 150K that day. It could be 1,000. The real issue was that I had started feeling like I needed permission before I can buy every single thing. And what made this story so uncomfortable for me was that it wasn't in one dramatic moment that I realized this. It happened gradually. He handled most of the bills. I became more careful about what I spent, how I spent it, and on what I spent it. I started thinking of his reaction before I made certain purchases that I needed. And eventually, it got to the point where I had to rehearse my explanation to why I needed to buy fabric for my shop. A fabric that I was buying with my own money. That was how much his reactions had started controlling my decisions. I didn't understand that then, but I understand it now. And on tomorrow's video, I will talk about what happened that made this situation more clearer for me. I found out that my name had quietly disappeared from an account I thought I had access to. And I will tell you exactly what happened when I found out. What I experienced was financial control, which could be a form of financial abuse. Financial abuse isn't always someone taking all your money. Sometimes it starts with controlling access, questioning your spending, making you explain simple purchases, or making you feel like you need permission for spending money that belongs to you. If you have ever found yourself hiding a purchase, rehearsing an explanation, or feeling nervous about how someone will react to you spending your own money, you are not alone. You can share your experience in the comments if you feel comfortable. And if this reminds you of someone who may be experiencing financial control, share this video with them. And if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, click the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that you will see the videos as it drops daily. Tomorrow, I'm telling you about the day I discovered that my name had disappeared from an account I thought I still had access to. I'll see you tomorrow.